Hello, welcome to this video about Helidon and Neo4j integration. My name is Dmitry Alexandrov and I'm part of Oracle team working on a Helidon project. Neo4j is a de facto standard for graph databases, and many modern microservices have the need to access the data in Neo4j. Since the release 2.3.0 of Helidon, the integration is now publicly available and you can easily connect your Helidon-based microservices to Neo4j database. Let us see how it works. For this, I have created a small project which follows the main example of Neo4j, which is like actor movie database. Currently, I have my Neo4j running in a Docker container, and I have the data already available with some actors, some movies, and the relationships between them. To represent this data, we need several domain classes, which will I not type to save your time. So we have an actor, which has a name and list of roles. We have a movie, which has a title, description, actors, directors, etc., etc. And has a person, which actually is most of the time director. It's also a plain Java object. So how can we actually start receiving data? So the main connection to Neo4j database is accessed via Neo4j driver. So to receive data, we just need the driver. Then we need to query it using Cypher language, then sample the data, and return it as a list. So driver is our main way of communications. So with the integrations that we have available to you, you can easily access it. So first of all, you have to go to a POM file and add some dependencies. The first one is Neo4j, which is the core dependency, allowing you to work with the Neo4j driver. Whenever you need to check health in your microservices via microprofile health, just include health-health. And whenever you need to see metrics, which Neo4j provides you, because they can be also easily accessed with microprofile metrics. So you just include this module. So it keep it modular. That means that you don't have any dead code. Okay, with including this thing, we just need to create a driver, which is Neo4j. And this driver is created very easy. So for this, you just have to make a constructor and use all the benefits of CDI, which is just inject. What does that mean? That means that our CDI container will take a look in our microprofile properties files, see required properties to configure the driver, like URI way to connect, authentication data, and whether to use metrics or not, and will create the driver object for you and inject it. And this way, the driver is totally properly set. Then, whenever we need to access the data and turn it as what we call a REST endpoint, so I've created a special resource which is available to you under path, which is request scoped, which is absolutely okay for us. We just need to inject this movie repo, which is like movie repo, with the very same way, just to create a constructor and use all the benefits of CDI. That will mean that we just inject it and it will handle everything for us. Then, to return the movies, actually to get our movies, we only need to return movie repository, find all. And this is it. Now, we will just build our project. For that, I will use just Maven clean package. It's actually Maven clean package, sorry for that, yes. Which will quite easily build only several source files, which are quite small as you saw. It will just copy all the dependencies on libs and will create an executable jar for us. What does that mean? That means that now we are able to make a Java jar of Helidon examples integration, so Helidon MP. And you see, it's starting like in fractions of a second. And now let us see if we are available to curl some data from the database. Yes, once we click movies, yes, we receive all you need, like for example the movies, like actors in JSON format. More than that, you can actually receive not only movies but health checks, since we included them automatically. That means that whenever you need to check if the Neo4j server is up and running, this information will be available to you once again out of the box. And of course, more than that, you can check metrics. Oops, not movies, but metrics. Yes, you see how fast they react, but metrics is what we need. And in terms of Prometheus format, we will be able to read metrics not only from Helidon itself, but here we have seen, for example, metrics which are available from Neo4j, like how many total acquired files are acquiring, created, etc., etc. So the integration with Neo4j is extremely straightforward and easy to use. But this is how we do it in Helidon MP. The same is actually available to you in Helidon SE. Let us switch to that project. Once again, we have the same actor, movie models, person, nothing special. The only little bit small change is actually the movie repo, since here we can't inject anything because Helidon SE is pure Java. We just create a driver and constructor, and that's why we have the very same file. Now, what we need is to create a service, which is a typical Pojo, but it only has to implement one service interface. So let us call it movie service. Yes, this movie service just has to implement one method, which is available to us via service, which is typical Helidon service, and there's only one method. And this method is update, and for that update method, we just only need to get a rule. So we just do rules.get a handler, which is, in this case, will be like API dash movies, dash slash movies. And we only lack a function which handles this. So we will create a function which will be nothing special, but like private void find all movies with the server request and server response, like response parameters. And what it will actually do is it will just send the data to the response just by calling the response object send, and here we just do movie. Yes, by the way, we have to include the movie repository itself. Oh my god, I forgot it. Definitely, so it's like a private movie repo and movie repository. Unfortunately, we can't use any constructors for automatic injection, so we will just create a constructor, and then we will just call this movie repo find all. Nice. This way, it will just return it, and we have just to make this handler of the find all movies. IntelliJ IDE is very smart here because it shows us the only option available. Okay, now comes the interesting part. So how do we configure the main object? Okay, you have to be familiar on how to do this. So please have a look at other different tutorials how to configure just the normal web server. So here we have a web server, media support, it just starts, routing, nothing special. We have metric support, we have health support. So how should we actually use Neo4j? Let us first check if we have the dependencies available, and the dependencies are here. They're absolutely the same dependencies that we use since we have a good reuse properties. Okay, so first of all, in order to use Neo4j, we have a special Neo4j, I would say, support object, which is created actually with Neo4j create function, which actually gets our config with get of a key property called Neo4j. Yes, it's quite straightforward. So the same way as we configured our microprofile config properties, we have a YAML configuration, which is technically the same. Great. Now, as we have this, we have this support object. So actually at this point, we are quite straightforward. So we will just get the driver, which is like, I'll call it just driver. And this driver is available to us from the Neo4j object. Cool. Now we have to create a movie service. Yep, movie service. Which is actually created like a new movie service. Nothing special. New movie service, which takes as a parameter new movie repository, which takes as a parameter the driver itself. Great. So at this point, we are almost set. That means that we just go to the routing and say, for example, that we just have to register this movie service and it will be available to us. Okay, we're done. But before starting it, we also want to read some health checks. So this is done with so-called health check support. So there is a special object like Neo4j health check. This Neo4j health check itself is extremely easy to configure. Yep, so Neo4j health check. We just create it and submit the driver. Yep, and then to the health, but it's now really easy. So we just add the readiness, which is health check in our case. Totally done. And last but not least is of course the metric support. For that we have, let me put some here, Neo4j metric support object, yes, which is like constructed by a builder pattern. You just have to submit the driver itself and to build it. And after you build it, you just initialize it, and it will take care to register everything you need in this case. So this is probably it. Let us now have a look if it works correctly. I sincerely hope it works nicely. So it's the same option like main and clean install. I'm pretty sure nothing actually stops us from doing this. So there are no other services running. Yes, build successful. And then you just do java -jar. In this case, it will be not MP, but SE jar. You see how fast it starts actually. And now it shows you the URI you actually need. Oh, we don't have a handler for it. So let us check where the problem is. So movie service with a movie repo. And let us see if it's done correctly. Oh yes, movie. Yes, it's movies. Now, if we go here, it won't work because we need to recompile it actually. Let us do it extremely fast because we see how fast it is. This is typical, you have to care very much about what you do, but since we are so fast, we're starting it fast, and voila, now you have all we need for the movies. Of course, we do have health as well. Yes, you see that Neo4j is up and running, so it provides you the same health information and metrics, of course. And somewhere here in this extreme output from Prometheus format, we actually see some Neo4j stuff, which is also available to us. So as you might probably see, Neo4j integration with Helidon is pretty straightforward and pretty nicely working. Only add some dependencies, add some properties in your YAML or microprofile config file. In terms of Helidon MP, just inject the driver and you are in terms of SE, you see that you have to do some typical configuration and registration. So, I hope that video was useful for you. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.